Welcome to China Focus. I'm Shelley Zhang. This week, China will kick off two important meetings, the National People's Congress and the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Now, during these meetings, China will appoint its next president, Xi Jinping, as well as the head of the NPC and other top leadership positions. But it's arguable over whether people are really paying attention to these meetings in China. So what's the attitude of ordinary Chinese people towards the two meetings? And will these meetings be able to tackle some of the big issues facing the country? Here today to talk about this, we have Jason Ma and Chen Zhifei. So thank you guys for joining us today. So last year, this was a period of intense drama in terms of China's political system. Right. When Jiabao made a kind of pointed reference to Bo Xilai during the MPC meeting, and then Bo Xilai was taken down almost immediately afterwards. Are we seeing something that's going to be as kind of exciting this year?
I don't think so. But meanwhile, they do have some kind of urgent topic, like the pollution. Air pollution in China, especially in Beijing. And of course, I think this year, people are not really concerned about the political transition. Although it's on the paper, they are saying, though they will make decision about who will be the president, who will be the kind of secretary of the department, but they already decided. All those people are just kind of
so it's really just kind of like the announcement.
It's announcement. But definitely, people consider this as a show in China in another sense, in the sense of because some of those delegates, they will bring out some proposals, like a legal regulation proposals. So although most of those proposals will be ignored or somewhat ignored, but those proposals will sometimes become a news topic, like this guy proposed this weird idea, that guy proposed some idea, very interesting. I can see the air pollution will be a very hot topic, it trigger a lot of proposals.
So let me ask about the, Chinese state-run media is obviously kind of blowing up these meetings. They're headline news everywhere, and of course, there was even an article in People's Daily that was called like why global media, is paying attention to China's two sessions. Like this is like the hot topic of the moment. So what are Chinese people's reactions?
Well, first of all, Shelley, we should know that these meetings were started in the early 50s when the communists just took over the country. They were the first ever two meetings of this kind, the two bodies. Were convened in 1949. And there was this lady from Shanxi province who has attended each of every 12 NPC meetings. That's really a record. So there is a high consistency.
Is she an elected official?
No, he's not an elected official. He's just a representative. So there is a very high degree of a consistency in terms of the eligibility and the membership of these meetings. And that's also, these two meetings are a rare indication of why the Communist Party is still caught up in a quagmire or some kind of void in the gut that was its ideology, because that shows in the past 60 years since its founding of the nation, the meetings, the format, everything has remained largely the same. Although Jason just mentioned they would go out of the way to make it more lively, to allow representatives to have their own proposals, but still everybody knows it's a show, and everybody knows that those proposals are bordering on ludicrousness, not touching upon any serious issue at all, because not like in lawmaking bodies in the United States or other Western countries, they're not talking about real political change. They're just talking about something that's a very basic, non-essential. That we're going to see a show like that.
Right, that's decided by how this Congress operate and how the delegates was selected.
So how are they chosen?
And indeed, one kind of a real story in this meeting is 21 years ago, she is the fee collector on the highway. She even don't know she was selected as a representative.
So you're
like
saying
several months.
She is she collects tolls on the highway.
Highway.
Toll collector.
Because in this Congress, Chinese try to make sure women have a certain percentage, and low-income people have a certain percentage, young people have a certain percentage. So this one woman will represent several roles, fill in those percentage, because by nature they give this position to officials at a different level. But it's because all these quotas, they need to fill in the quota. So this particular woman really kind of one person used as several tokens.
So is this, I mean, like this 21-year-old toll booth attendant, is she actually have the power to vote on issues?
Yeah, she has. She can vote, and she can also veto. But I think I'm sure she will vote agree with all the decision. The lady, I mean, she mentioned the lady, she was selected for the past 60 years as delegates. She said, the way I can survive all these 6 years because I voted yes for all the decision. When they kind of throw out Deng Xiaoping, I say yes. When they take Deng Xiaoping back, I say yes. So that's basically the kind of the role those 2,000 delegates is playing, and so that's a show. So people also consider that.
So
a show.
in the Western media, sometimes they say this is basically a rubber stamp.
Right, that's the kind of even that's kind of a stamp is a kind of high.
Well, I mean, they are trying to make it probably more expressive of the part of the general grassroots sentiment. However, those people, they will self-censor themselves in terms of what they would like to say. So on that, I don't expect any big changes, especially when the party's internal fight is largely over. With denouement, with the conclusion of Bruce Lei's case, I don't think there are any suspense. So I expect there is little serious interest in this event.
So a little interest for people in China.
Yeah.
And you know, Jason, you mentioned the issue of pollution before, air pollution that's gotten really hot recently. So a lot of problems facing the country right now, between the pollution issue, corruption, issues of like what the state-run companies and privatization and economic issues. Do you think the NPC will address some of these topics?
That's the usage of this kind of meeting. I mean, basically, there are a lot of kind of anger about the pollution because the pollution is clearly man-made, and it's directly related to China's policy of GDP-oriented economy development and environmental kind of ignorance and about from the Chinese government. So that's a government-induced pollution. So people have anger about it. So these two meetings became vast of this anger. They bring some kind of weird people from all part of China here, and then propose 2,000, 5,000 proposals. 300 will be related to air pollution, and then that gave people some hope. Like, oh gosh, so many kind of proposals. Maybe one of us can work.
So when you talk about proposals, are these things that are eventually becoming law, or are these just kind of discussion points?
No, it's just discussion points. What happened was each province will convene a meeting that's restricted to their own membership that talk about how good they have been over the years. And some party top officials will attend the meetings, especially going back to the hometown. They'll make it very lively. They will put forward proposals. But then after the meeting, nobody will pay attention to it. So on the usefulness of these two meetings, I would not say they're totally useless, even though in terms of the specific goals that were achieved, they're largely irrelevant. However, they do represent very important function of the party's apparatus. That is to control the media, to control the right to the word, to the publicity. Because at these two meetings, those people will voice all kinds of concerns, showing that a public that really is the target of the party's care. However, they really don't take any action on it. So for party's interest, it's very important.
So if this is the NPC is kind of like the biggest,
Platform,
body, like legislative body in Chinese government, but the decisions are really made by the party.
That's true.
Right, exactly. And basically, it's more like all the law and all the contents of law are decided. Everything is decided before the meeting. And these 2,000 people come here, and some is like the 84 years old lady who will definitely say yes to everything. Another is 21 years old, this young girl. She is not even understanding the words in the legislation. Of course, they will say yes. Yeah.
So let me ask about, Western media are paying attention, I think, this year more than usual because Xi Jinping will be officially elected, appointed president, and Li Keqiang will be appointed premier. Is there any significance to it? Because a lot of people have already been saying, well, he was already appointed to the party last November, and that's what really matters. So.
I think, in that sense, it's probably more important than the next 4 years meetings of a similar kind, because you can see a new cabinet being formed, a new leadership generation being appointed, and there could still be some room for suspense. For instance, all the key chips are already in place. Li Keqiang being premier and Xi Jinping being the president. But then what about other members?
But like I said, Li Keqiang may be a special case because Li Keqiang will be the prime minister and he probably have more control about the Chinese economic development. So Western people really want, because he hasn't really given a stage to talk in his own language. So people was thinking like, oh, this is a chance he may stand there, give his talk, and then he can show his personality so we can predict what his policy will be in China.
Well, that's true. The body language and the personality, the way he expresses himself, everything, people will really intensely look over for details.
Because this is going to be his first big speech,
that's true.
right?
That's true.
So let me go back to one thing you said, Jason, Western media pay attention to the leader's personality.
Right.
Is that kind of like the right way to look at this? Like, does it matter that much?
Yeah, this is the kind of translation in kind of lost in translation type of thing. I mean, so in the Western world, like personality may really kind of decide this person's behavior and then decide his policy. But in China, everything is so kind of is restricted by the party, and so the personal personality. If they align with the party, so that's the party's ideology. But if they are against the party, a party will get rid of this person. So I guess so personality in China is not that a big issue. We know when Jiabao do have some personality. He was crying for a lot of suffering for Chinese people, but end up what? Nothing. I mean, all the policy.
With the nickname of being China's best actor.
Actor, right. But he didn't. His action does not really lead to any policy because all the policy is decided by the party. A person's personality is not important in Chinese, this kind of bigger picture, political picture. Yeah.
So talking about, Xi Jinping and people saying, oh, well, he's given off an image of being, more relaxed or softer, or than Jintao, who seemed really stern all the time. This is not any indication of whether he's going to be a reformer.
I don't think so. I think people probably have too much expectation of those people's creativeness. I think they were made a lame duck president or party leader the day they took office in the Western political jargon. I think it's not that they didn't harbor any political ambitions. It's that the system has made them such that they are only one of the cogs of the whole machinery that made them, kind of lame duck, kind of
right. How can
immobile.
They select somebody who will be against themselves' ideology? I mean, they definitely kind of select some safe guy. Basically, this guy will kind of follow what they wanted China to follow.
It's not that we had this line. Xi Jinping himself reviewed his real thinking about this a couple of months ago. Actually, that coincided with, the remark was coincided with his visit to the South.
Right,
we talked about it. He ruled out as a possibility he will become China's Gorbachev. That was one way for him to assure the party's elders that, okay, I'll toe the line you set for me. There was no suspense.
Nothing's going to change. Okay.
That's right.
All right. Thank you both for joining us today to talk about this issue. And thank you for watching. For more on this and other issues in China, join us at ntd.tv.